Now we're talking. Shalom, ladies and gentlemen, it's Goldstein here. Howdy, y'all. It's a southern redneck Jew shouting out to you from the holy hills of Judah. Yep, that's where Jew comes from. So in the old days when they'd say, "Hey, Jew boy," I'd be like, "Yeah, that's me, brother. What's up?" And they were confused. So today, this Jew boy is going to stand on this hilltop, and together, no matter what you identify as, we're going to say some Psalms of David, who sat on these very hills, or who hid in these caves, fearing for his life at one of the lowest points in his life. So today we're going to say the Psalms of David over Psunset. I'm going to see if I can get this image a little bit clearer for you. And then I'm going to see if I can move out of the way a little bit, see if it helps. All right, let's get going. Thank you all for joining me on this glorious sunset. It's a beautiful way to start your week, and you all deserve it as much as I do. So, work with me here. We're going to start saying some Psalms starting chapter 23. And if any of you have any suggestions for Psalms that would be fitting, or any of the books of Kings, or any of the prophets that you'd like to study with me out here, shoot me a private message, and let's do it together. There's no reason why you can't introduce something for me to introduce to the world. So I'm going to say it in the Hebrew, and then I'm going to say it in the English, and you can feel free to join me. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, a song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Bino desha yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yanileni. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara. Even when I walk in the valley of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, you set a table before me, neged sororoi, in the presence of my enemies, of my adversaries. Dishanta b'shemen roshi, you anointed my head with oil. Kosi revaya, my cup overflows. Ach tov v'chesed, yirdafuni kol yemei chayai. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life. V'shafti b'veit Adonai li'orech yamim, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. It's nothing new. It's a timeless psalm that brings comfort, no matter if it's a poster you see in your dentist's office looking up on the ceiling, or you see it in a motivational seminar. As this king, his son said so eloquently, as we all know, and the son just agreed with me, there is nothing new under the sun. So all those feelings you have sometimes of darkness, of being in the pit, of you were once a king, doing amazing business deals, and all of a sudden you don't feel it anymore. Whatever it means to you, you were once an Olympian runner, and now you can hardly get out of bed. Whichever hole you find yourself buried in, you are in good company, because kings of Israel and those that are responsible for the messianic line leaning down today to the Jewish nation's return to these borders, you're amongst good company. You're not alone. Abraham was thrown into a pit of fire. David was cast down. Joseph cast down into pits. They all rose to conquer the world. Psalm chapter 24. David mizmar l'Adonai ha'aretz u'melo tevel v'yeshveh bo. Of David a song. The land and the fullness thereof are the Lord's, the world and those who dwell therein. Ki hu al yamim yasdo v'al naharot yichoneneho. For he founded it upon seas and established it upon rivers. Mi ya'aleh bahar Adonai u'mi yakum bimkom kadsho. Who will ascend upon the Lord's mount, and who will stand in his holy place? Naki chapayim uvar levov, asher lo nosa l'shavo nafshi, v'lo nishba l'mirmo. He who has clean hands and a pure heart, he who has not taken my name in vain, and has not sworn deceitfully. Isa brocha me'et Adonai tzedakah me'Elohei yisho. He shall receive a blessing from the Lord, and charity from the God of his salvation. Zedor darshav. And I'm speaking to you. Zedor darshav. This is the generation of those who seek him. Say it. Say the Hebrew with me. Zedor darshav. This is the generation of those who seek him. Mivakshe panecha Yaakov selo. Who seek your presence. Jacob, forever. Jacob, who is Israel. Yaakov, who is Yisrael. We are Bnei Yisrael. We're the children of Israel, standing in the land of Israel. What a connection. Straight through the legs, straight through the heart and soul, straight out to you, thousands of miles away, to every corner of the globe. Seeing this beautiful flag wave over this beautiful sunset on the impossible hills that we shouldn't be on. We should be burned up in the chambers and destroyed in Birkenau and Auschwitz and all the other hellholes we've been through. But we're not. We're not. We've got brilliant warriors running behind me. We've got families out here biking free. Parents, grandparents, children, girls sitting out here in the hills enjoying the sunset free. Yes, surrounded by Arab villages and all the like, without fear. Because even though at times they walk through that valley, and they do, and they see their friends sometimes killed, and that's a valley, and they hear the sirens of the rockets of Gaza, and that's a valley, and they have traumatic stress disorder constantly for the remaining days of their lives and their children's lives, that's a valley they have to go in. But they don't fear. No, they live. They live all the days of their life. The Torah, the nation, the tribes, all of it wound together is a tree of life for those who grab onto it. But you have to grab onto it. It ain't just gonna come to you for free. Didn't even come to the king of Israel for free. He found himself hiding in a cave, cutting the kingly dress of the king that was after him, hiding, quaking in fear. You're amongst good company. Zedor Darshav. This is the generation that seeks him. I feel it. You feel it. We're in Israel. Come on. This is impossible. Zedor Darshav. You should write that on your eyelids. You should write that on your entryway and your exit of your home. Just like in every home in this country, there's a piece of the home missing when you walk in the front door. It's a piece of wall that's just cracked out. It's carved out. You know why? Not because they couldn't afford to finish it, but because in every Jewish home they remember the destruction of our home with a capital H, God's resting home on earth, the temple, the temples, and the third temple that will be rebuilt tomorrow by you, by me, by the kids here, by all of our unity standing together. Different people, different tribes, different walks of life under one roof of Israel. That we can unify on, no matter who you are. So this is the generation of those who seek him. So shall Ra'im Roshechem v'hinasu pitchei olam v'yavo melech hakavod. Gates, lift your heads and be uplifted. You everlasting portals, so that the King of Glory may enter. Mizeh melech hakavod. Who is this King of Glory? Adonai Izuz v'Gibor. Adonai Gibor Milchama. The Lord, who is strong and mighty, the Lord who is a mighty warrior. Remember who was writing these words. This was a warrior poet of Israel. This is how he related to God. His son Solomon related to God in many times in the feminine form, because that's how he related to beauty and to his peace. David found peace by going to the valleys and destroying the evil that threatened Israel. And then he came home to play his harp in the very hills that you're watching right now, over the very sunset that his son said, there is nothing new under. So what you're watching was watched 1,000,000 times before as the entire nation of Israel traversed this path that I'm looking at. While the new nation of Israel, which is just that DNA passing along, chain to chain, link to link, is right here as the souls of all of our ancestors who soaked the bloods of Europe, who soaked the bloods of everywhere they shouldn't have been, including finally coming home to soak the blood of this land. Not by choice because we want to die, but as Jabotinsky and all the others would tell you, it's an honor to know that you've given everything in your life for justice and righteousness, because that's what this land represents. Not just a piece of real estate. If it were, we should be in Entebbe. We should have just gone to Africa. We should just be in Long Island. We should be anywhere but here. This is the most illogical place to find yourself on the planet. With a sea there and people who hate you surrounding you. And here you are. You can't wait to get here. How illogical. And we're not dumb. We're some of the wisest people this planet has ever produced. On every aspect of education, of medicine, of ingenuity, of technology, of mathematics, of poetry, of everything. Good and bad. So we're not dumb. So maybe we're onto something. So teach your children what it means to be onto something. Tell them that what they are being told is poison is actually the elixir. And it's the evil, it's the snake itself that's producing the venom that certainly doesn't want you to have the anti-venom. And the sooner we get it through our heads, the better. As one. I have a shirt on, We Remember. A good friend of mine, Chris Johansson, sent it to me all the way from the US of A. We're remembering 9/11. We're remembering what it means when those who sit right in these villages and who cheer when the towers come down, we have to remember that. But what else do we remember? Do we remember our own heritage? Do we remember our own history? Do we remember what it means to not have? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. I'll tell you what, I may not have been born during the time of the Holocaust. I may not have witnessed those atrocities. I may not have gone through pogroms. I may not have had a time where all I knew was the IDF to cheer for. Even in the days when I wasn't searching for Torah or godliness so much, I was searching for some heroes and I found them and I joined them. I wasn't alive during the days when all we had to grasp onto was our Shabbat, was our tradition. Now we watch Fiddler on the Roof and we laugh when he sings the songs. It's funny, it's humorous, it's an act, but it's not. For tradition is all they really had. They were getting their asses handed to them in every shtetl. They were bowing and kneeling to the master around them. The Jewish nation kneeling to a Nazi. Oh, what? You tell that to my generation here today where there's F-35 Joint Strike Fighters with this star on her wings, and we look at you and we say, what? We're going to fly a squadron over those camps and destroy them. Because the wings of eagles don't just bring you home. The wings of eagles protect you as you sleep here in your home. For they circle in the air all night. They circle over the heads of Ahmadinejad and those apes Those brutal tyrants who are holding their people in Iran hostage and threatening the world with destruction. Our Jewish boys and girls are flying over their heads as they sleep. And they know it. And they know there's not a damn thing they can do about it. So go ahead and threaten us. Go ahead and talk your talk. Read who Haman was. Read what happened to him and his 10 sons. And take history and learn from it. If our enemy knows how important this land is to us, that they're willing to strap suicide bomb vests onto their children and send them onto buses and then praise them as heroes amongst every patch of Arab society in this land beyond the Arabs who actually fight and stand for Israel, which is a underwhelming minority, unfortunately. When your love of the land is enough that you are willing to put every cartoon on your TV, that you're willing to invest every dollar that you receive in foreign aid in promoting death and murder so you can take over this land and annihilate who you consider to be a foreign invader, when your love of Israel is equal to half of their devotion to sickness, cruelty, and genocide, then maybe we've gotten somewhere. When I see Muslims pulling over in the street, pulling over, getting out, going onto the pavement, kneeling and praying, I want to pull over and join them. They inspire me and remind me that I am a son of Abraham and I need to pull over and do the same. How deeply connected are you to you? How far gone do you feel? Either way, it doesn't matter, because each avenue, whether you feel completely connected to here or whether you feel completely just covered in dirt as far as Israel, Judaism, or anything connected to godliness, it's all the same. We're all walking a path. Some of us just are pushed a little bit differently because we've accepted a yoke on top of us. But we're pushed, and we have to push ourselves to challenge ourselves. And if you find yourself completely gone, cutting off that chain, and you're too egotistical in order to realize that all you have to do is step up and say, I've erred, to yourself, into the dark enough times to where you realize you've erred, and get over it. You don't have to go onto a huge stage and admit to everybody that you're a jerk. Then you will see that light just open up in front of you. But then it's up to you to grab it. Eitz Chaim hi l'machazikim ba. I have to hold this flag. I can't let it fall. When you're holding the Torah in the synagogue on the Sabbath and turning around for the congregation, you can't let that Torah fall. L'machazikim ba. You must grab on to what you believe in. You must grab the land of Israel with both hands, wrap your body around it, and give it a bear hug, and say, nobody's taking 1 inch of our land. It's all we have. Don't you get it? Go ahead. Carve out Judea and Samaria. You're left with half of Israel. And you've cut the heart and soul out. You've left Mother Rachel to rot in her tomb. You've left Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, Adam, and Eve to rot in their tombs. You've left Joseph to rot in their tombs. Who are we? Who have we become when we let our ancestors rot, our graves be defaced? And you can say I'm a zealot. I'm not. This is exactly what the PLO did when we evacuated Joseph's tomb. They executed one of our border police personnel, and our weak government at the time brought it up to the Arabs themselves to evacuate our wounded and dying border policeman who died, who bled to death as we were watching him, the mighty lions of Israel, the second we capitulate to terror. Who are we to give Joseph away to them? What are you looking at? Keep driving, brother. It's to your best health, trust me. This land does not belong to me. This land does not belong to you. This land belongs to the creator of land. And the creator of land wrote down in a contract, this wasn't verbally, this wasn't a secret, some prophet didn't have a seizure in the desert and all of a sudden say, hey, yo, you're going to follow what I tell you, or I'm going to cut your head off and take your wives and children. Nuh-uh. This was a nation who as one all signed a contract and said, yes, we all witnessed it. How can that lie survive one generation forward? All it would take is one kid to say, Daddy, I wasn't there. Shut up, kid. We don't want the world to know. Millions of people witnessed it on a mountaintop not too much higher than this. Who are we to give this away? If you're watching this and you don't find this rock precious, then you don't understand the land of Israel and what it means to you. If you're watching this and don't understand why this flag is important to you and your children, then you need to understand who you are as a people, not who you are as an individual, because individuals don't survive. That one stick is going to get broken in half. This isn't rocket science. So I'm out here on the hilltops saying psalms, and I'll beg you, the next time you decide to kneel to a human because you're afraid of those around you, and you're afraid to be called something that you're not, because you've lost your backbone and spine, start by kneeling to the creator of humans. Start by pouring out your soul to the creator of heavens and earth. If you desire to come home to this land and to acquire this land, then start the process. Go to Nefesh B'Nefesh. Look it up. Talk to your local rabbi who is pro-Israel. Look it up. But Eitz Chaim Hilamak Chazikim Ba. It's a tree of life for those who grab onto it. Don't expect that God sends you a boat and you can just jump into the water and hope the boat scoops you up. Don't be an idiot. God doesn't really respect idiots. You have a brain that's got so much power that all you have to do is open up the largest circulating book in history and just read it for what it is. Attach your last name, Rosenberg, Goldstein, whatever it, Iceberg, whatever your last name may be that sounds kind of Jewish. Attach it to these people you're reading about that seem ancient and realize you are simply the revival of their DNA. It's like a dinosaur DNA was captured in Jurassic Park by the sap falling from the tree from a mosquito, and then 20 million years later they revive this ancient species. So that's what you are. You're the T-Rex, baby. You're the king of the jungle right now. Your DNA has been revived. As a matter of fact, the scientists doing it are probably your uncles and cousins. And they're probably working out of factories right here and going to bars in Tel Aviv on Saturday night and Thursday night. This is your nation. This is your land. Get a good look at it, because your children are inheriting it. You understand me? Your children have inherited this land. So don't reject it. Give them a chance. Give them a chance to see how beautiful our history, our present, and our future truly is. And all you have to do is walk this land for a week or two to realize almost everything said about this beautiful place is a lie. Because the serpent wants the venom to infiltrate every vein, every ventricle, everywhere within your body, to completely destroy you, to paralyze you limb by limb, to shut you down. And again, right here, looking at the elixir, Israel's the antivenom. Israel's the antivenom for a lack of unity. Even between nations who used to hate each other and distrust each other. Right now there's 100 million Christians that are standing strong with Israel. And for that I will say bravo, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, boys and girls. Because just by standing with Israel, you have already blessed Israel, and you yourself are seeing blessing. But recognize the source of the blessing and never forget it. And Jeshurun got fat and kicked. If you find yourself building palaces in your stepmother's land, remember, your children will not inherit your palace in the stepmother's land. And nothing against stepmothers. Just quoting verse. We have to build palaces, or even caravans, or even tents in this land, and I challenge you, take the keys of what you have, drop it in your properties, and turn around and walk away and get on a plane and come to this land, and I swear to God, on the Holy Land of Israel, that you will be wealthier beyond your wildest dreams, with the wealth that truly matters. You will feed your family, you will pay your bills, your children will play outside without limitations, even out here, without any limitations. Why? Because you did what God commanded you to do. Don't be afraid, have no fear. Gam ki elech begeitz al mavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, Ben, I can't leave my properties. Ben, I can't leave my big, beautiful home. Ben, I can't leave this. Ben, this is all I know. Ben, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive in Israel? What? God told Abraham, go! Go, son! Get! God stood there with a shotgun. Come on, let's talk Southern. Get! And Avram's like, you don't have to. I'm already going. I'm getting up early before the sun rises to saddle my own donkey. Even though I'm a multi-billionaire. I'm not having my servant do it. I'm doing it. You know why? Because I want to be the first in line to get on that plane to come home. I want to be the first on, first off. FIFO. Let's talk accounting. We're Jews. You got to do it. You want to sit on first class, business class? Go for it. But it needs to be one way to Ben Gurion Airport. Don't stop in France and give those anti-Semitic Jew-hating bastards a penny. Not one penny. Don't stop in Germany, the country that slaughtered your family. Don't stop. Don't fly Air Turkey. They hate your guts. Fly halal, come home. Any airline that travels directly home and do it. The onus is on you. You have every resource possible. All you need is emunah, the real emunah. Not the emunah, does God exist? Maybe, maybe yes. Do I observe the 10 Commandments? Okay, yes. Am I a good person? Yes. Okay, do I keep kosher? Yes. Do I keep Shabbat? Yes. Do I go to shul on Shabbos? Yes. Okay, what about Israel? Well, you know, Israel is the equivalent of all 613 commandments wrapped up in one. Israel. You know it. You feel it. You want it. And if you're striving for it, and if you're actively pursuing it, then you are halfway home. Join me on this hilltop. Hold this flag with me. And then show your friends from this angle right here. Look at them and say, hey, Rosenberg family, Iceberg family, or whatever your last name might be. Look where I am. Look at where I am. Don't you want to be here with me? Don't you want your children to be planting trees here instead of building and inheriting another palace there? Don't you really want that? Go ahead and make them jealous. God bless you all from our land. God bless your children, that they will be able to turn to you and say, Mom, Dad, let's go. God bless them with the strength to understand their future is only here. I am a parrot repeating the words of the wisest men and women. I'm a parrot repeating the words of the creator of all. I simply have a wonderful backdrop and a captive audience. And for that, I praise God every single day. Every single day. Because who the hell am I? And here you are. And here's the message. And here's the glory. What are you going to do with it? It's your call. I just can't wait to see you back home. God bless you all from Israel. Laila Tov.